Page 15, Lullaby. On page 14, they're showing you the hand position for page 15. I'd prefer you not look at it. I want to use the music. You got to learn to look at the music and figure out what the hand positions are, because you're not always going to have pictures and charts. At the top of page 15, they're introducing you to another kind of note called a dotted half note. A dotted half note is simply a half note with a dot behind it. A dotted half note. Huh. Different ways of doing these dotted notes, because any note can be dotted. The rule is the dot gets half the value of the note. As simple as that. Across the board, that's what it is. So depending on how many beats a half note gets, because it doesn't always going to get 2. It depends on the time signature. For us, we're going to pretend that a quarter note gets a count. Therefore, a half note gets 2 counts. We're going to pretend it's got 2 counts. In that case, the dot gets 1 count. It makes the note last 1 count longer. It's like taking the note and the dot and tying them together. Or you take a half note and a quarter note and tie them together. So it's 3 counts. That's a dotted half note. But all dotted notes work the same way. It's just the dot gets half the value of the note, whatever the note gets. Now they're introducing you to a curved line called a slur. You're going to love this one. That curved line has several different meanings and several different names. It's used for different things at different times in the music. And sometimes trying to figure out what it's used for is a real challenge. It's a puzzle. But a slur simply means, they say it's legato. We can't do a true legato on piano. Legato means to play it smoothly, and we can't really do that on piano because a piano is a percussive instrument. It's blah. If you had a wind instrument or a violin or something where you can bow it and you can just make one note go into another with no change or tonguing or anything, it just goes into another, that's smooth. With piano, the hammer hits the string every time and it So for piano, we say it means to connect the notes. Well, that's what we've been doing all along. It's like here. I play next note, I lift up on the first one. I connect the notes. There's no silence between them. That's what a slur indicates. You connect the notes in the slur. Look at Lullaby. In the first line, you see above the staff, there's that great big long line, curved line. They're calling that a slur. They're telling you to connect these notes here. That's all they're telling you. Connect those notes. Well, look in the second line and the last 2 measures. You see another curved line underneath the staff. Okay, that's a tie. Now we're going to tie 2 notes together. It's the same curved line as a slur, but it's just a different situation. Here, you can only tie 2 notes at a time. Can't tie more than that, just 2 at a time. And it simply means you play the first note and hold it down for the length of both notes. You see, we have a problem. Well, I have a lot of problems in music, but the one I'm referring to here is there's a limit to how long a note can last. And that's based on the time signature. This time signature in this piece is 3/4. Instead of 4/4, it's 3/4. So now there's only 3 counts in a measure, not 4. Well, that means the longest note we can have is 3 counts. We can't have any note lasting longer than that because that's all you can have in a measure. So what happens when you want to have a note last longer than 3 counts? You take another note and you tie it together. That's what they did here in the end of the second line. You have the F's. Well, the first F lasts 3 counts, the second F lasts 3 counts, but you tie them together, so you're going to hold the first F down 6 counts. And same thing at the bottom. The last 2 lines, or the last 2 measures at the bottom, the C and the right, that's tied to another C, so you're going to hold that down for 6 counts. And that's how we do that. So when you see these curved lines, you got to ask, what's it for? Yeah. And we'll figure it out slowly, and I'll explain it. I'll help. Because there's more stuff this curved line is used for. I just love it. So let's look this over here and go through our process, because now we're kind of playing both hands at the same time. Not quite, but close. We're holding one hand down while playing others, but both hands are busy. It's 4 lines long, treble and bass clef, 3 4-time signatures, so there's only 3 counts in a measure. We only have to count to 3, but we're still counting quarter notes. So there is the same as 3 quarter notes in every measure. I see dotted half notes, quarter notes. Is that about it? I don't see anything else? Okay, and the rest, of course. In this one, because I'm doing both hands together, now I'm going to take it one hand at a time and make sure I understand what each hand is doing before I try and put them together. So start with the right hand. You're starting with third finger here. Then put your hand in this position. You don't need any of these other finger numbers. Please don't read finger numbers. You're here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. You get the idea? 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, tie, 2, 3, 1. So I go through and make sure I got the right hand. Then I do the same thing with the left. Left hand, you're starting here. In this position. You don't need these other finger numbers. The left hand is not moving in this piece. You're staying right here. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Get the idea? I go through and make sure I got the left hand. Then I put the hands together in C. Now when I first put the hands together, usually I'm hesitating all over. That's okay. We just want to know which fingers are going down and working together. So it's here, and then here. Lift up. As you play this, lift up. I'm lifting up here as I play that. Here, and then here. Then lift up. So one lifts up as I play the other. Get the idea? I went kind of fast, but you take it at your speed, as slow as you need to, and then go back over it a few hundred times or whatever, and get rid of any hesitations you have. So it's a steady beat at some speed. You can always speed it up later, but no hesitations. And again, you need to get this down without looking at the keyboard eventually. So you can feel where these notes are, where your fingers are. Then, once I do that, I add what's known as articulation, and that's just the way I do it. You do it any way you want. Articulation is how you express the note, how you play the note. We haven't had this before because we haven't had any symbols for articulation given to us before until now. The slur is articulation. When they tell you to connect the notes. You see, when the music doesn't say anything, it's up to you on how you want to play it. Now, in the past, we've simply connected the notes. That's sort of the default for today's music. Didn't used to be. Used to be in the past, you would separate the notes as the default. But now, the last couple hundred years or so, to 50, it's gotten into where you connect the notes as the default. So what you do when nothing says, connect the notes. If in doubt, connect the notes. Now we have a slur telling us to connect the notes. Okay, so now I add the articulation. Well, here I'm connecting them anyway. And you see each line is slurred. Well, tricky. With a slur, you need to connect the notes in the slur, but we do not always lift up before or after a slur. I might connect the slurs together, multiple slurs, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm connecting the first 2 lines together, like it's one great big long slur. Here, I'm connecting that, and I'm connecting the last 2 lines together like it's one big long slur. Just one big long slur. But I'm going to lift up at the end of the second line, so there's a little silence there before I go to the third line. So I'm here, and the second line I'm here. Before I go to the next line, I lift up. There's just a speck of silence. It's like taking a breath. So I'm cutting the last note in the second line just a little bit short, so I got time to lift up. Because the third line, I got to play that on the beat. It's got to be there. Now, there's nothing in the music that really tells me to do that. I'm just doing it, and I'll explain more why I'm doing it as we go through the book. So I'm going to play the first 2 lines all connected, and I'm going to lift up just a speck of silence, and I'm going to play the last 2 lines connected. That's the way it works. Now on top of that, they've added dynamics. Well, okay, we'll add dynamics. I usually do the dynamics right after I do the articulation. Once I've figured out the articulation, then I can add the dynamics. Dynamics is louds and softs. How loud are you playing or how soft are you playing? And I can't really tell you, there's no set value for these. It depends on your situation. In the situation you're in, the room you're in, the piano you have, the whatever, what is loud or what is soft to you, and it can change depending on the situation. So I can't say this is loud or this is soft. Then on top of that, the electronics I'm using in these videos wants to even out the volume all the time, so the dynamics don't come across in the video very well. They come across here very nicely, but then when I play the video, it's all about the same, and that's a bummer. But you don't need me to demonstrate the dynamics so much as you need to do it. Well, look at the beginning of this. In between the stabs, you see a P. It's a little bitty. It should be in the middle. It's toward the bottom, but it should be in the middle. And it means softly. It's short for piano, which is an Italian word that means soft. It means play it softly. So it's soft, whatever you think soft is. Then once I have all that down, then I think about the speed. Because it's the first time they've given us a speed. You see at the beginning, above the top staff, there's the word moderato. It's an Italian word. It means somewhere in the middle. Not slow, not fast. And it's not the speed of the beat we're talking, it's the overall feel of the piece. Well, the dotted half notes want to speed it up. They want to speed it up, but the quarter note's going to want to slow it down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. They're going to want to slow it down. So you have to have a speed that kind of works for both, so it's all one speed. And somewhere in the middle, not fast or slow. It's the feel of it, not the speed of the beat. It's the overall feel of the piece. Please don't copy me. That's just one way of playing it. You can take it at a different speed, try different things out. It's up to you. Now let's play it together very slowly and double check the notes and the rhythms. I'll give us 3 counts because this is the 3/4 time. 1, ready, go. And on these play with me's, I do not do dynamics. I don't do louds and softs. I play everything about the same because all we're doing is checking notes and rhythms. We're not performing it, just notes and rhythms. I leave it up to you to add the dynamics and the feel. 1, ready, go. Off.